in this edition of the Mike On Podcast.
Conversations that intend to foster governance are an integral part of a successful democracy. Bayo Onanuga is a veteran journalist whose footprints cannot be ignored in Nigeria's media space. He was recently appointed by President Tinubu as a special advisor on information and strategy. Beyond his face-off with General Sani Abacha, which forced him into exile, and his criticisms of past governments, he remains an active figure in the political discourse in Nigeria. He is known for throwing stern swipes at Peter Obi and the Obedient movement in his speeches and articles. In this episode of a Mike On podcast, Seun Okinbaloye sits with Bayo Onanuga for a no-holds-barred chat where the media expert touched on his past and present political activities as well as opinions about the current administration. Join the conversation today.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Mike On Podcast. I'm Seun Okinbaloye. This podcast is an open platform for individuals from different backgrounds to share their perspectives on issues that hold significance not just for them but for a wider audience as well. The Mike On Podcast runs independently from my weekday show on Channels Television, which is Politics Today, and the weekend edition, Sunday Politics. Mr. Bayo Onanuga is a veteran from my professional constituency, the 4th Estate of the Realm. He's my guest on the show today. Mr. Onanuga currently works as a special advisor to the president on information and strategy. His appointment may not have surprised many considering his background and relationship with the current president. Now, Mr. Onanuga is no stranger to bass, you know what I mean, on the internet. That lingo for viber trademarks. He's in a running battle for ideas with members and supporters of the opposition party. His strong opinions have gotten and often drawn criticism, yet they've also sparked vital conversations. I sat with him and got him talking about a wide range of topics. I certainly didn't shy away from the tough questions, and we even got into areas that some might consider off limits. Please, let's watch the interview. Mr. Bayo Onanuga, it's a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
How have you been?
Well, okay, sometimes this job can be stressful, but generally I'm enjoying it because I'm operating from my comfort zone, so I don't have any problem at all.
So when you say your comfort zone, meaning that this is what you have done all your life?
When you are in the media space, and this, but for the past, since I left school in 1980 or so, I've been in the media, and the only time I veered off was when I said I wanted to do politics. And I say, well, I'm a field politician, so I learned the lesson, and I then just said, let me just stay with my profession.
So you went into media, you see yourself as more successful in the media space, but you went into politics, you failed woefully.
Let me just say, I didn't understand the kind of game politicians play. Is actually different from the way we operate in the media. And that's why I said, let me stick with my profession. And that's where I've been for the past 44 years or so since I left school.
If you think about, would you ever think about going back into trying your hands into politics?
No, never.
Your fingers are burnt.
Yeah, never.
Is it true though that they say politics in Nigeria, if you can afford to make a lot of money, put them in one bag and throw them into the ocean, that's what it looks like in politics, or have your money literally lit it and burn it?
No,
is it what politics?
It depends on where you are coming from or where your entry point. Some people go into politics, they are held by godfathers who already have done the groundwork for them, and they just get positions on a platter of gold. People sponsor them. But if you want to go in there as your own man, you have to have a lot of money. I remember that one of my colleagues who wanted to run for local government chairmanship in Lagos, he spends too much money. And this present president, I one day called and said, look, stop spending money. I'm not going to allow you to waste all your resources on because you want to run for local council election and things like that. I said, okay, there will be no more election. We are going to appoint people to all the councils we have in Lagos. And that's what they did by appointing caretaker chairman. So my friend was saved from virtually burning all his money. And that's what politics is all about. It's too expensive in this country. Immediately you announce yourself you want to run for either Senate or House of Rep or House of Assembly, when people start playing psychophancy on you, calling you honorable, or if you are going for Senate, distinguished, you are not yet there. You have not even gotten your party nomination. They already give you titles. If you say you want to be a president, or let me say governor, they're already calling you Your Excellency. So if you are not careful, you will just find yourself being railroaded into sometimes wasting your resources, sometimes having to mortgage your assets because you want to run for an elective office.
Did you lose assets trying to go into politics?
Me? I had, from the time I entered it, I drew a line that once I spent my research to this level and I didn't get what I was looking for, I'll pull out.
So that's what happened?
That's what happened to me. I didn't even wait for nomination or whatever struggle. Immediately I found out I spent more than what I planned to spend. For me,
you ran away.
Enough is enough.
So you are doing what makes you comfortable now?
Yes, I'm doing in the media space. I'm very comfortable with that.
There are those who will see you and say, the younger Bayo Onanuga was very notorious.
Notorious? No, when people see me, they see a different person from the image that people sometimes ascribe to me. And people see me, this is a gentleman. Especially in those days of Abacha, anytime I was arrested and the military guys or DSS see me and say, this man is a gentleman. But what we write is different from the facade that I present. I'm a gentleman, but my pen can be something else.
Mm. So is your pen that is notorious, not you?
Not me. I'm a gentleman. My pen is not notorious. What we are doing those days, we are trying to make sure that this country is put on the right path. That we were fighting for democracy, for the rights of all Nigerians. And at that time, we were ready even to lose our own convenience and everything to make sure that this country is well governed and we are not ruled by military. That it's better for us to have people that we elect on our own show, out of our own free will to govern us, and not for soldiers because they have the guns to govern our people. That was all we were doing at that time.
Did you think that you achieved your aim as a journalist then?
Of course. I think at the end of the day, when the military left power, even when Babangida left power in 1993, I think we were very happy that at least we succeeded in pushing him out. And when Abacha took over and we found that he was not ready to allow democracy to reign, we also began a new round of struggle. And when he died, even before he died, some of us ran into exile. When we died, we were very happy that he died. And we came back to our country to continue to play our role to make sure that this country enthrones democracy. And I think as a journalist, because of the crusade that we fought for at that time, I think I would say our crusade succeeded lively.
Was that at the moment you met Asiwaju Tinubu?
I met him before we started that crusade. Or let me say, if I cast my mind back to my role when I was in Concord as editor of the African Concord magazine, that's when we began to really question a lot of things happening in society. At that time, my journalism then was centered on looking at people at the center point of issues rather than just looking at issues. We were saying then that people should be the focus of whatever we wanted to do. So if Babangida was messing up in those days, we tried to question him, not looking at issues like let's say now we have a problem of guinea worm, like it used to happen in those days. We were not just looking at guinea worm as a disease. We were looking at the people who were in charge of our health, people who were in charge of water and things like that, and we really began to question them. And it was a people-centered journalism we were doing. So trying to focus on issues, but focusing on them through the people who were in charge. Like now, when Bangladesh then declared in 1992, I think, what actually led my leaving Concord, and said he could not understand what was going on in the country, that the country had defied all kinds of treatment that he had tried to employ on Nigeria. And he said, what kind of leader was this? If the country had defied all kinds of things that you are saying it has defied, then you have no business continuing to govern Nigeria.
So that's why you wrote as Babangida given up.
Yeah. And of course, he didn't like what we did. And when my boss said I should apologize, I said, no, there's no point in apologizing.
Who was your boss then?
MKO Abiola.
He told you to apologize to Babangida government.
I said, no, I won't apologize. I'd rather just go. And that's why I left. And when I left, many of my colleagues also left with me. And that's what led to our founding the News magazine in 1993.
Did you regret not apologizing to Babangida?
No. You see, the point is this. If you believe very much in something, it's better, even at the risk of your life, it's better you stick to it. When you try to appease people who have power, you are going to lose much more. So it's better to have some dignity, to believe. The thing is that I believe in something. That's my own. I believe in certain things, certain values. And if you ask me to now sacrifice those values because I want to gain some advantage, I say no. I'd rather just go and be drinking my gari rather than sacrifice my values so that I get some advantage. So that is what I believe in.
So you disobeyed MK Abiola at the time?
And resigned. And I told him at that time that you don't appease power. If you appease power, once you do it, they will ask for more. You keep appeasing, and then you find that you have lost everything totally.
So could that be one of the most dangerous and perhaps one of the most audacious decisions you've made in your career as a journalist?
As a journalist, it was not the only one. I've done a lot of things to really make sure that this country, at least we push certain things, certain agenda in this country so that this country can, because as I believe, most of my colleagues, they believe in certain values. And it was those values we are trying to push that our country must embrace. Like, for example, when our magazine in 2000, was in 1999, we were the first to speak about the certificate incident involving Salisu Buhari at that time, and that led to his removal as of Rep Speaker in those days. And there was no regret that we did it, and at least that led to a chain of reactions, and we had to push it. Like, for instance, even the military, when in those days, I remember when our troops went to Liberia to help in freeing that country of the problems of Shastelo and so, and we were not even telling our people how many soldiers are dying on the battlefront. We made the bold decision to expose it, to let Nigerians know that the military people were lying to us. We have lost X number of people. We are burying them secretly and so on. And we didn't just care what was going to happen to us. Or even before Abacha died, we were the first to write a story that Abacha was stealing Nigeria's money. And of course, that led to a lot of problems. One of my colleagues was arrested and it was not released until Abdulsalami took over.
Only Ajibade?
That's Babafemi Ojudu.
Babafemi Ojudu.
And in my own case, I had to run away. That was what.
How many times did you run away?
Well, sometimes I have to hide myself within Nigeria, but that Abacha time, after we wrote that he was stealing money, I had to leave Nigeria to go to US.
You ran during Babangida's time?
Babangida, I resigned.
Oh, you resigned.
And I was just being careful.
Oh, it was only during Abacha's period that you went on exile.
I had to go into exile.
When Delegiwa died, did he send a shock into some of you who were practicing then? What kind of reaction did he send to some of you then?
For me as a journalist, the lesson I learned from it was that if you're a journalist, even if you have some interaction with people in power, don't be too close to them. Try to dine with them with a very long spoon so that at any time, you can, if you want to do your job as a journalist, you can do your job without anybody accusing you of either of course saying you have been dining with us. Why will you go and write X, Y, Z about us? So that was my lesson from it. You have to have friends in government. You have to associate with them, but always make sure you leave a gap. You don't. I said dine with them with a very, very long spoon. That was my own lesson, and I think that many journalists all over the world also know that even though you need government people for sources, for information and everything, don't be too close. I think Giwa was a bit too close to those in power, Babangida and all those officials, and the people in the secret services were sometimes sharing information and so on. When we start getting information in such a way, it can be dangerous to us as journalists because they will tell you don't publish. And you think this thing is very important that the people have to know, and you go and publish, you stand the risk of being attacked, eliminated, arrested, and things like that. So as a journalist, my own practice was that be friendly with them, but always leave a very wide gap so you can pull back when the time is right for that.
So it was actually true, the friendship for Babangida and MKO Abiola at the time?
And friendship?
Friendship. I mean, those who believe that there was some kind of handshake between Babangida and MKO Abiola.
They were friends. They were very.
And those who suspected MKO's.
Don't forget that when the Buhari coup happened, I mean the coup that topped Buhari, it was then said that it was MKO that sponsored the coup. He helped the Babangida people with logistics and things like that. And perhaps if that Babangida coup had failed, maybe MKO would also have been in problem. That was the story we had then, that MKO was very helpful to Babangida in executing the coup that toppled Buhari in 1984.
So
1985.
Yeah. So you didn't tell me how you got to meet Asiwaju Tinubu.
Yeah, we met in 1992. He was a senator then. And it was after I left Concord. And we were trying to raise funds to start a new magazine. And a friend of mine, Chris Mama, who later worked for Atiku and so on, called me and said he wanted me to meet a senator who could be helpful to what he wanted to do. And I then came to Abuja to meet him. Incidentally, one of the person who was with me that I met him was the president majority leader in the National Assembly now, in the Senate, Okwemi Bamidele. He was then his PA. And I met him and I told him we were trying to set up a magazine and that we needed money. We needed investors. And he asked me, how much do you need? Or what is the limit of investment? I said, well, if you allow only about 5% subscription per individual or any corporate organization, and he said, okay. He commended what we have done or what we did in making sure we didn't recount the story we published on Babangida when we were in Concord and so on. And he said he was interested. And that's why I said I should go and meet someone in Lagos who happened to be later the governor of Osun State, Mr. Oyetola. And so that's how I met Oyetola, Okwemi Bamidele, and now President Tinubu in 1992. And without even reading our feasibility studies, whatever, he contributed and he gave us money, and that's how we started. And then from then, we were very close.
Do you think during the campaign that some of the things that Peter Obi said, because this was during the campaign, and you are making reference to him, that some of the things that he said pose danger to our peace and unity as a country?
What I know about the campaign of Obi was that for the first time in a very long while in our country, we had a candidate who was inflaming ethnic passions. And that was the way the election went at that time. It was inflaming ethnic passions, even religious passions, bringing two dangerous things to our politics: ethnicity, religion.
That's what Peter Obi was doing.
That was what he did. And those things were dangerous to our Nigerian politics.
You don't think that Ashwaju too did that and the APC?
If Ashwaju did that, he would not have lost Lagos.
But those who believe the Muslim ticket was a religious politics.
It was not religious. You can see that even Muslim ticket is not even winning massive votes, let's say in Borno, where his deputy came from. It was not, he was basing it on the man he picked as his VP. He believed that Shetima had the quality to support him. To be his vice president. And that's why he picked him. He was not looking at religion. Let me give you an incident. We went somewhere recently, and we found that most of the people in the media section of this government, they were actually Muslims. And I said, wow. I was born a Muslim, for instance. If you count me, then you find that most of us were Muslims. And I said, wow, what is this? It was a mere coincidence. When they were picking them, nobody was looking at their religion. So ditto, when President Tinubu was picking Shetima as his vice, he was picking Shetima. He was not looking at Shetima as a Muslim. He was looking at Shetima from the northeast part of the country who could add some value to his campaign, to his winning the presidency.
So there are no other person from the northeast of a Christian stock that could be his vice?
Shetima and the vice president because of his contribution to that campaign. He was with him all the way, even before the primary.
So loyalty was one of the reasons why Shetima got the ticket.
When you want to appoint somebody to work with you, you have to count loyalty. It's very, very, very vital. And of course, even the quality of the person is also very important. And you can see what Shetima has been doing is loyal to the president, and he has shown a lot of quality as a vice president.
Do you see Peter Obi's politics and the obedient movement as a threat to a possible re-election of President Tinubu?
Well, until then, as of now, we are busy with governance, and we don't want to divert our attention from the focus of what the government is trying to do. We are very busy, so we are not even looking at them now.
But you don't think that they pose any threat?
I cannot answer that now because I said, for now, we have left politics. We are now busy with governance.
Give us an understanding of how you will compare. You've worked under the Buhari government and Bola Tinubu government. How would you compare the two personalities?
Of course, they are different. The two of them are different. I mean, the President Buhari and Bola Tinubu. Let me speak more about Bola Tinubu because I would say Tinubu is a very, very compassionate leader. And whatever you see him saying outside there, he really means it. When he says he feels the pains of people, he feels their hurt and everything, that is the man. That's the person. And you can see what happened to him, the difference between him and President Buhari, with recent burial of our slain soldiers. He felt he should go there. And he went there, to show empathy. That as a commander-in-chief, he felt the pain the military had when their men were killed and so on. That's the kind of person that Tinubu is. He introduced some critical economic measures which had some rebound effects and so on, and he felt, no, something should be done to alleviate the pains that the people were encountering. Again, that shows his compassion, that he's a leader to all this idea of palliatives, interventions and everything so that people can have some relief from the pains of the economic measures, which, by the way, they are very, very necessary economic measures, like the removal of subsidy, like the harmonization of the foreign exchange. They are very, very critical. They are very important economic measures that the government introduced. And, of course, the government may not have envisaged the enormity or the consequences of those measures, but the government quickly moved in to say, look, there are ways we can reduce the pains of this measure. And the government has been doing that all along.
So you think that there's a lot of leadership strength that Bola Tinubu has over Muhammadu Buhari? Because even recently, some of your comments shows as much.
Well, I said there are two different characters. I will not want to judge President Buhari. I want to speak more about Tinubu. Tinubu has shown, even when you look at his pedigree, as a leader who had a leader with vision. He showed that one in Lagos, and that's why that is even what qualified him. Why some of us believed so much in him. We saw his leadership in what he did in Lagos then, how he turned things around in Lagos, and how Lagos now became, as they said, now the fifth largest economy in Africa. If Lagos had to be a nation of its own, Lagos will be successful. And I think Tinubu did that. He achieved that in Lagos. And I think I see him again expanding the horizon for Nigeria. He made Nigeria at a $400 something billion economy. He's talking about taking it to $1 trillion economy. And we can see that a lot of measures are being done to make that one possible.
There are those who believe that the Muhammad Buhari government took Nigeria back several years. And this is a government that you served in. Did you regret some of the pains Nigerians feel, or the kind of retrogression that was ascribed to the Muhammad Buhari government at the time?
No, I think the things people say about Buhari, most of them are based on very false perception of the man himself. Even though I served there for 3 years, but when you look at everything that Buhari did, I think people are just very uncharitable by what they say about the man. He tried his best. He always say he tried his best. And I think he said so several times that he tried his best. But I think the difference, what people were not comfortable with when he was there was his style of governance. And that's what marks him out from President Tinubu. They have different styles, they have different personalities and so on. But Buhari achieved a lot too as president of this country in terms of infrastructure. Nobody can take that away from him. And in terms of even some laws that define so many things, like the Petroleum Industry Act law, like disability law, all kinds of laws that he enacted while he was president. I said, to me, people were very, very uncharitable about the man. He did a lot for this country. They may not be happy with his style of governance, but again, that's a personality issue. But to me, I think he tried his best.
But the best was not good for Nigeria.
It depends on where you are coming from. I think I said people were very uncharitable. They just did not like him. Some people did not like him. Even this kind of hatred now, some people are spewing against Bola Tinubu. The same happened under Buhari. People from day one, they hated the man called Muhammadu Buhari from day one.
And so that's why
they never gave him a chance from day one. But the man beat the odds, and he left a lot of infrastructural legacy that I think he should be proud of. He should be proud of those things they left behind.
Well, that's why one of the times you said that all of those things said about Buhari, they are mere propaganda to make the Buhari regime look bad. But recently you took a dig at the Buhari government for not attending funerals of soldiers slain while on duty, which your principal now has done.
Yeah, I think that's a personality issue. So I said it's a matter of style and everything. Buhari didn't do it, but Tinubu is different from Buhari. He did it.
You think Tinubu is a better leader compared to Buhari?
I'm not going to cast a judgment on that yet.
But putting on your journalist cap right now, if you are writing an editorial, how would you describe the two men?
It's too early.
A comparative analysis.
It's too early to cast a judgment now. It's too early.
Not a judgment. It's just an analysis.
It's a different personality. I always tell him, sometimes we talk, I say, look, you are not Buhari, you are Bola Tinubu. So they are different. But I'm not going to say who is better now. It's too early. It's just morning yet. I just say about a year old, just less than a year old in government. We'll be able to judge after the expiration of the first term.
You said that there's, just like Buhari, that those who are not even giving Bola Tinubu a chance from day one. Are you thinking maybe there are those who are intentionally wanting to sabotage Bola Tinubu's government?
Of course, it's very clear unless people are not perceptive. Up to now, some people are saying writing that Bayo Tinubu stole the presidency. Some people are saying the man who came third actually won the election. And they are very unapologetic about that. That how could somebody who came third, how could he have won that election? How could he have won it? Sometimes some of those things they say, they just, in fact, you cannot even really understand the basis of it. A third in a race, the man who came third, you are still saying up to now that he actually won the election. You are still saying Bayo Tinubu stole the presidency. How? How did he steal it? And people, you can even see when we were talking about the Naira, some people were just happy that the Naira was going downhill, and so on. And you can trace them. People who are saying so are members of the Obedient movement.
So you think that the Obedient movement wants the Tinubu government to fail? Of
course, it's clear. Everything the government has done, even Peter Obi himself, read his tweets. Read his tweets. When government has done something good, he will never comment about it. But when it is bad news, quickly he will tweet. So you can see a deliberate attempt to denigrate the government, to paint it black all the time that it's not doing well, it's a failure. And I said it's too early to even say so. If Tinubu has a 4-year mandate, he has just started. And I'm very, very sure that they'll be shamed by the time this man finishes his term. In terms of what he wants to do, what he wants to accomplish for this government. He's a man who said he's here as president to leave a legacy. And people will begin to see what he's trying to do.
You don't think that the Tinubu government has its failings already in some areas?
Which failings? I said that's just begun.
You can misstep. Any human being can. Any government can. Any entity, any institution can have a misstep, can have a mistake. No. But the ability to be able to retrace is one thing.
This government has been very forthright that when he makes a mistake, he says, "Oh, sorry, we made a mistake," and it resets his steps. It does not just go on and say, "Oh, because we made a mistake, we're not going to correct." It's do a self-correction and then set things right. That's what this government has been doing. Mm. The president has said, "Humble enough to say, look, I can make mistakes. I'm a human being. I can make errors, but once the errors are spotted, he corrects himself."
And there are several instances where the government has backtracked on some of its policies and decisions. And there are those who believe that these are too many times of a government backtracking on policies, which makes the government look like it doesn't really understand what it's up to.
Don't forget that when you are in government, or maybe you are fashioning out economic policies or social policies, you are dealing with human beings. And these things, of course, in school they taught us that social science is not, or behavioral science is not real science. So errors are bound to be made. But I said the good thing about this government, about this president, is that when he makes errors, he corrects the errors. Hmm. Like, for instance, recently there was this thing about a expatriate levy or something, and people pointed out to him, these are the problems about this policy. And government said, no, hold it. Don't do it again. So that's the kind of presidency we have. Always ready to correct himself if there are errors made.
If you look at it critically, would you say that the Bayo Tinubu government inherited Nigeria in a bad shape?
Inherited? Mm. Yeah, well, things were, if you have to go back to 2014 to really understand where we are coming from. Because I don't want to blame General Buhari for everything. Things were already bad in 2014.
But the indices blamed the government of Buhari, especially the economic indices.
He blamed Jonathan then. Things were already bad. And then when Buhari came, oil prices already were going down and so on, compared to the time of surplus under President Jonathan. And Buhari, I think for about 2 years, oil income was down, leading him to be borrowing money to finance a lot of projects. But despite all those financial problems, I can say Buhari, at least right in a Daura retreat, you can see he will point out to so many things he did with the little money available to him. And things are bad on the economy horizon. President Buhari, he saw problems. Like, for example, the fuel subsidy thing. He knew that it had to go. And as I said, that's where personality is now coming. President Tinubu also felt he must go. Peter Obi felt he must go. Even Atiku felt he must go. And Tinubu said, no, this thing must go right from day one, instead of waiting till the end of June before it was removed. So the economy, don't forget, this economy is dependent on oil. And all we have been talking about all these years, all these decades, that we are going to diversify, and we've not really achieved much in diversification. And this is the central. So when there's a problem with oil, it affects the economy. And what Tinubu has been trying to do is to take us away from all that so that we can have a robust economy that is not only anchored on oil.
I mean, there are a lot of effort, like you have described, not only in the economy, security-wise, but are those who perhaps would disagree with you on some of your positions. For example, where you're making an analysis about how safe Nigeria is. You describe Nigeria as safest place to live in, one of the safest places to live in the world. There are those who ask, where is Mr. Bayo Onanuga getting his statistics from, considering some of the kidnap numbers, some of the violent crime and criminal activities that we are seeing, at least in the last few months of President Tinubu government. Have you reconsidered that statement saying that Nigeria is the safest place in the world?
Well, we are here today now in this studio. Don't we feel safe? When we talk about kidnapping, all this banditry, they are happening in very small corners of Nigeria. Even I was in Kaduna State last week. We felt safe in Kaduna. We didn't have any problem with banditry or terrorism or anything. We were in Kano. There was no problem in Kano. We were in Jigawa State. No problem in Jigawa State. You see, sometimes we exaggerate some of these things. Sometimes we paint the image that the entire country is under banditry or it's under terrorism, which is wrong. I give you a story.
But the northern governors will disagree with you, Mr. Onanuga.
In Nigeria, I went to Canada. I went to a supermarket to buy something. I was telling the cashier that to make it that she's trying to cash a plane back to Nigeria. And the woman said, you are going back to Nigeria? That horrible place where they are killing people, where they are saying, no, going back to Nigeria. There's something wrong with Nigeria. Because the image, even our media, the image we portray is that all parts of Nigeria is under the bondage or under bandits. It is not true. That the bandits, terrorists, hold stranglehold over the entire country. But we know that this is not true.
As much as some of us who are realistic in our tendencies and in our reportage and in delivering our duties to the nation, who do not think that some of the things that are being portrayed or Nigeria, the way Nigeria is being painted is right, but it doesn't take away the fact that we're facing a huge security challenge in the country. And those who are on the receiving end, listening to you, Mr. Onanuga, will say, maybe Mr. Onanuga is living in another Nigeria. The 19 northern state governors perhaps may not agree with you when they met with the NSA and they thought that they had a problem. The northwest governors, we know today that there is a siege on their states by these bandits and this terrorist element. Some northeast governors who say that there are problems within their territory about the terrorists and the Boko Haram element who are troubling their people, and the kidnappings that we are seeing, over 100 students being taken out of their schools. These are huge security challenges that we are facing. Doesn't mean that Nigeria is under some kind of totalitarian siege by the enemy, but then we have a problem. Don't you agree?
I'm not saying we don't have security problems. But I'm saying, the point I'm making is that the entire country is not under the single hold of terrorists.
But we have a huge problem on our hands.
We have security problems, but not that it's taking over the entire Nigerian space. That's the point I'm making.
But would you, when you ascribe safest place to live in, is that right, factually?
Nigeria is safe.
But it's not the safest place to live in.
It's one of the safest countries in the world. Nigeria is safe. Is America safe?
I don't disagree with you that Nigeria is safe.
Is America
but
safe?
Would you say Nigeria is the safest place to live in?
Did I say it's the safest place?
I mean, you have been reported to have said Nigeria is one of the safest places to live.
Look at South Africa, for instance. There's a recent report about kidnapping in South Africa. But the report was that the thing has gone up by 30% in South Africa. They have more kidnappings than it will not be in a large number that our terrorists do, going to schools, soft target to carry our children, but they have a lot of banditry going on in South Africa. They call it different names. They have a lot of carjacking going on in South Africa, and a lot of problems of crime, worse than our country.
So compared to South Africa and the United States, your belief is that Nigeria is safer?
Well, relatively safer, because I'm in Abuja now. I'm safe. I go to my town, I'm safe. I go to Lagos, I'm safe.
But if you go to some part of the north, you might not be able to say absolutely.
Isolated parts of the north, isolated parts. Not even in Kaduna State, not all parts of Kaduna are under danger. Even in Borno State, people live in Borno State. People live there. People live in Maiduguri. They don't feel unsafe. People live in even Safara. People are still living in Guso. Despite the challenge that they have. See, the point is nobody is saying we don't have challenges. And the government is trying to make sure that it eliminates all those challenges, trying to wrestle with those challenges. And I believe that's why people, you see, all Nigerians, wherever we live, we want to sleep with our two eyes closed. And once there are some problems here and there, people will raise alarm. And it's the duty of government to ensure that all of us, wherever we may be, that we do enjoy our sleep and that we don't have security threat. The point is that we should stop painting Nigeria as if all parts of Nigeria are under danger, not all parts of Nigeria. This crime, these criminalities that we talk about, they are happening in some isolated places, not the entire country.
You have your opinion on a figure that will befit the national minimum wage. And your thinking is that Nigeria is not as rich as people think, that we are in fact a poor nation. What figure do you think is okay for national minimum wage?
The point I made at that time was that Nigeria, we have, as of now, if you look at the figures, if you look at our GDP and the what you call the one that the gross national income and the GDP per capita, you find that we are not a rich country by the per capita. We are a potentially rich country. We are a potentially rich country. And that's what this government is trying to do, to harness that potentiality to make it really a reality. That's why it's talking about a $1 trillion economy, so that we can boost our wealth and really harness everything. Look at our solid mineral, for instance. As of now, it's contributing about 1% to GDP, but we believe that this can be increased. The country can make a lot of benefits from this and so on. So my belief is that if you look at even the problem we have today, why people are groaning, why they are complaining about the economy, is that we don't have enough disposable income. That is the problem. That's why our people are poor. The disposable income is very low, and people who are richer, who are more endowed, they can adjust themselves. But the poor one who's earning 30,000 naira a month he finds himself in a difficult situation, and he cannot just see himself surviving. And as I said, that's what's leading to all these palliatives. So in my own judgment, if you really want to help the people to really give them a living wage, we should be talking about nothing less than 100,000 naira a month.
From the 30,000 naira that it is, right?
A living wage. But the question is, can all the governments of Nigeria be able to pay? Can even the federal government be able to pay if it does not increase revenue? It's making efforts now to increase revenue, but we need to get to that to see whether this money can be paid. Mm-hmm. My fear, even if the federal government is able to adjust itself and pay, how about the states? Can they pay? Some of them are not able to pay even the 30,000 naira as of now. So when you say minimum wage is 100K or 75,000, whatever, the question is, will they be able to pay? And you can see labor, they are making very unrealistic demands. Some of them are saying 400,000, 500,000. Yeah, we will pay it. Even if government is able to pay, what of the private sector? can they pay?
We've always heard about...
My belief is this. Government should not be looking at just increasing number, giving people money. The important thing is to make some other welfare programs, to ensure to place some other welfare programs. Like, for instance, I'm providing transport, providing cheaper accommodation for our people, free health, and so on. Education, making it free. So by the time you put all those in place, because what do you need money for? You need money for your health, you need money for your transport, you need money to have a roof over your head and so on. By the time government begins to put in place some of those welfare programs, people will find that it's not really the quantum of money that really matters, it's in the welfare program that government has instituted. So our government need to really, and when I say government, I don't mean federal government alone, the states, they really need to begin to change their mindset and begin to put in place things that will elevate the living standards, improve the living standards of our people.
There's always been the issue of cabals around the president, but there are also those who believe that there are strong men and there are cabals who are running this government. Who are those cabals, Mr. Onanuga?
I don't have any cabal.
Are you one of them?
I'm not a cabal. I don't belong to any cabal. I don't think this president has a cabal. If people say cabal, maybe they mean people who he sees every day, who work with him, his aides, but I don't think they're a cabal. This president is a man. Is a man of his own, and I don't think he has any cabal people around him at all.
Is it because you don't belong to the cabal? That's why you think they don't exist?
Well, I've not seen the indication. I'm a journalist. I ought to have seen indication of a cabal, but as of now, I don't think there's any cabal really exists.
There are those who believe that there are just a little group of people, an element within the villa that have, in fact, disallowed to those who are, before now, very close to President Tinubu, and now they've taken over the helms of affairs in terms of influence around the president. You want to dispute that fact?
No, the president has aides who work with him. I don't know what they mean by all that. He has aides who work with him, and those are the people he sees every day. I don't think that they have. I don't believe that they have constituted a cabal yet. From what I'm a journalist. From what I've seen so far.
Well, the meaning of cabal, it sounds a bit elevated, but it's just a clique, a political group of people who are very prominent and very powerful.
I've not seen signs of that yet.
You don't think that some people are aggrieved within the APC that have been pushed away?
Well, when you say push away, maybe you mean that maybe they've not been given appointments and things like that. But I said, well, when you talk about cabal existing, I don't think it doesn't exist. I believe that a lot of people who have been left out now, we sooner or later get appointments into this government. I learned that about over 7,000 appointments that the president can make. I'm not even sure he has made 1,000 appointments yet. So there are still many, many appointments to make sure that many of our party members will work hard to ensure that we have this presidency are rewarded. So you see, the thing is still open, and many people will be touched by what the president will do.
How do you react to those who have criticized this government as being nepotic in his appointments?
As being?
Nepotic.
You need to prove that. What do you mean by nepotic?
So let's go by the appointments within the economic sphere. The appointment of his former friends, those who have served with him in the CBN, in the Ministry of Finance. And these are strongholds. Those who believe that some of the agencies that hold sway on our economy, they're former Lagos boys.
Well, you call them Lagos boys, but why they are in Lagos, did they not yield results? I see a president, you see, in this country, we sometimes misplace our argument by saying, oh, the president was appointed this and appointed that. The president, even during his campaign, he had made it very clear, for instance, that he's going to use Cardoso. He kept saying it. that he's going to use Cardoso. And you can see that he didn't make a wrong choice by putting Cardoso in the CBN. He kept also saying he was going to use Wale Edun. And he made you can see what the efforts Wale Edun is making to make sure that this, as the coordinator of the economy, the efforts is making to make sure the economy is put on the right footing. A president will choose people he believes in, who has shown some experience, who has shown success in the past, who he believes can do the same thing at the federal level.
Must they be from one part of the country?
They are not from
one part of Lagos.
Cardoso is Lagos. Edun is Ogun.
But they have worked with Ashwaju when he was governor. Yeah, these are close people. These are close members of his political team.
You should be talking about, are they qualified to hold those positions?
Must they be the only people that could take part?
Are they qualified to hold the positions?
Are there no other people who are qualified, Mr. Onanuga?
If you are a CEO of a company and you want to employ people, you better go for people that you know have the pedigree, who have done this, demonstrated that they could do this job, and so that you don't begin to experiment.
So are you saying that it is only those who have come from the places where the president picked them are the only ones who are qualified?
No, I'm not saying they are the only people who are qualified. But as a CEO, he felt that he'd be more comfortable. He has seen them doing this job before, and that he could do it, replicate it for the federal government at the center. So that's the reason. More important is that competence. Are these people qualified? I think they are.
On the altar of nepotism.
It's not nepotism. I said, what's nepotism? Putting your relations and people in office. Are they his relations?
Has that not happened?
Relations? How many of them? I said statistically, how many are we talking about?
His in-law.
How many? How many in-laws?
Should that happen? Should that ever happen?
Does he have?
Should that ever happen, Mr. Onanuga?
Look, Mr. Trump of America, did he not bring his in-law to government? Did he not bring his son? Did he not bring his daughter to government?
Is he right?
It depends on what you're talking about. I said statistically, how many?
And you don't think that this could be nepotism?
It's not. It's not because it's not. When you want to describe a phenomenon, it has to be in a large number. When you're talking about few appointments that qualify for what you're talking about, is not. To me, it's not a problem.
Are you satisfied with the role you are playing with Bola Tinubu?
With the way?
The role you are playing with Bola Tinubu
I'm operating from my comfort zone. And I'm doing a lot of work for him, and some of them behind the scene, and so on, and I'm satisfied.
Perhaps there are those notions who believe that maybe you deserve a bigger role. You don't think so?
No. Well, I'm okay. Let me tell you something. While we were campaigning, and people were asking, what do you want to do? I said, well, I said, I want to stay where I belong. And that's in the media. And that's where I am today. And I'm performing my duty.
Mr. Onanuga, there are those people like former governor of Kaduna, Sierra, and some northern strongmen who did not make it into the cabinet. And they are gaining a lot of recognition outside of this government. And there are fears within the APC that this might affect the political standing of the president whenever he seeks to seek re-election.
Well, it's unfortunate that El-Rufai, that's one. I think that person you have in mind, didn't eventually make the cabinet. But my belief is that 2027 is still a long way. Whatever people have been offended or whatever, there's enough time for the president to make amends and to make sure that the people who were in the coalition that brought him to power in 2023, he reconciles with them and he brings them on board.
Do you think that could happen?
I believe so.
Is that the thinking of the president?
Well, I've not spoken to him about that, but I know that as a politician, he knows what to do, that he doesn't need to create enemies. Whoever, as a person, what he does is that the president even has one weakness, I know, trying to make sure that he reconciles with perceived opponents or enemies or so on. That's the kind of person he is. I'm sure he will reconcile with a lot of them. He's not a man who will just totally say, oh, that man is my enemy. No. He will whatever differences they have, we try to find a common ground.
Including El-Rufai.
Including El-Rufai.
And those who are angry with the likes of Daniel Bwala, who were against him, and now he has drawn them to his side.
Was it the president who invited Bwala? It was Bwala who said he wanted to come back. So, and this president is a man with a large heart. He welcomes everybody.
How would you describe, as we wrap up now, how would you describe this government's performance? Performance on one side, perception on another side, and acceptance with the Nigerian people. That's another kettle of fish entirely. Is this president in the middle, in a quagmire between these different worlds that he currently lives in?
Well, to me, I think the government is government has not been shy in saying, yeah, we are going through challenging times, which is why he canceled his birthday party and all the kind of ceremonies we expect him to have on a birthday, and he's doing his best to ensure that we put the economy on a good pedestal. The economy has not been very good, and the president, what he has been trying to do is to reset it so that we can really have a better economy where all Nigerians will enjoy some measure of prosperity. We are going to have better facilities, better education, and so on and so forth. And you can see what he's been trying to do. He's been talking about student loan, which will soon take effect. He's talking about giving Nigerians social security, giving unemployment benefits to our jobless graduates and so on. So many programs that I believe that are key to ensuring that Nigerians do enjoy some measure of prosperity. And he's talking about growing our economy to 1 trillion. 1 trillion, not naira, but in dollars. And these are things he's put in place. And recently, he's talking about launching a Renew Hope Infrastructure Fund. It's not talking about small money. It's talking about something in about 20 trillion to start with. And these are signs. And very, very, very soon, the Minister of Budget will be going to the National Assembly with a supplementary budget about 35 critical projects that Renew Hope Infrastructure Fund will take care. So this government is very serious about ensuring that it leaves a legacy for our people. It leaves a legacy of prosperity, of good and solid infrastructure, something that Nigerians, after 2027 or 2031, they say, oh, during Tinubu, XYZ happened to the glory of our country.
Mr. Bayo Onanuga, it's a pleasure having you on this podcast. It looks so much like we just started a few minutes ago, but we spent quite a time. Wow. But thank you so much indeed for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, everyone, there you have it. Thank you for joining us today on the podcast. My guest is giving his perspectives on various national issues, drawing from his extensive background as a journalist and his current role as an aide to the president. As we go through our diverse perspectives on religion, culture, and politics, let us remember that it is our shared values that can unite us. By embracing our differences and engaging in constructive dialogue, we can work towards building a stronger nation. Here on this show, we will continue to give a platform for diverse voices to be heard, fostering meaningful conversations that contribute to our national discourse. On this note, I say, God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria and may Nigeria succeed. Thank you all for always being part of this show. I'm Sean Kimaloya. See you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Mike On Podcast with Seun Okimbaloy. Mike On Podcast for the independent mind.